Everybody, welcome back to Cram session. This time we're going to do something a little bit different. We're actually going to go through a deck building exercise or preview, I guess. I don't know. PTM season's coming out. This video should be coming up when PTM season releases, or hopefully right after. I went to Akihabara in Japan and got the pleasure of playing and opening some of the new PTM cards. It was very exciting. Especially with how many people were pulling not the looking glasses, those the glass sights. They were just, oh man, those cards are gorgeous. Everybody, it seemed like everyone around me was just constantly pulling them, and I'm like, where's mine? But yeah, so I got to see a bunch of the PTM cards, and I figure what better way than to start with PTM season with making a deck. So today we're just going to go through making a Alice deck. I think Alice is the most interesting, being a level 2 advanced element champion. She definitely adds a twist on the standard expectation for when advanced elements get played, and honestly with how much influence you'll have to play those cards. So I think that she's probably going to be meta relevant. So I think making her is going to be nice. So first thing we're going to go to, and I'm just using Shout, but obviously any site that has deck building, filters, all that jazz, feel free to do that. I am going to be making her Umbra water. And the reason for that is because if I go to subtype and I type Spectre, and I search the Spectre category, you'll notice there's only 2 pages. Here, let me make these a little bigger. You'll notice there's only 2 pages here. These are all the norm Spectres, so these are open every element. And there's only 6 fire, and there's like 7 water. 8 water. There's actually 8 water. These fire Spectres are really not that good. Bill is probably the only one I think that's worth playing, but even him, it's just, I don't know. You're ephemerating with ticket out. You're ephemerating for 4 and you discard a card. It's just not that good. This Drog, it's a freaking Blitz Mage. Templar doesn't actually do anything because you're not a cleric. You do not have the cleric class bonus. If this had Alice bonus on it instead, that'd be really good. The Dodo Bird, again, it's it's whatever. This is the only one that Alice would play. Putting a haunt counter is nice, and getting +2 power onto a Spectre ally is pretty good. But I don't think you can justify playing with fire for those 3 guys when you could be playing things like Drown in Sorrow, which is a nice way to get haunt counters. You can ephemerate it. This one, Misty Wispale, this actually gives you a haunt counter because when you sacrifice it, it's dying and it is a Spectre. So you get to replace itself and get a haunt counter. You have the option of getting Spell Shroud, and this card right here, which is kind of crazy. You get to ephemerate it. Sure, you got to discard a card, but you just keep recovering each turn. It's got stealth. It's a 4 health body. It's a pain to deal with. So it's I think water is worthwhile. So we're going to go back here. We're going to get rid of those. We're going to go for our elements here. We're going to go Norm, Umbra, and Water. Now we're going to search. So first thing I like to do whenever I start out is we're going to throw in the Water Spirit. I am going to throw in Serene Water because I believe that Alice can benefit from this, given the fact that she is, only a level 2 champion. That means her influence is going to be a little bit higher than other advanced element level 3 champions. So she might be able to justify playing with that, with that lineage release to recover. So, all right, so we got the champions in. Now let's just go through the generic stuff here. We'll just add a backup charger because backup charger's crazy. We don't want Censor because we don't want Censor played against us. Candlelight, probably not. Condemned Trinket. There is some funny things you can do where you can put omen counters even though you're not CL. You can put an omen counter on something and then just proceed to keep playing Grim Pastiches or just do whatever you want based on that omen. It's actually pretty funny. Technically speaking, you could play Oblation Advent's Alice, which I think is hilarious, but Oblation would cost you 5, so not ideal. We'll put Ducal Seal. This is Advanced Element Terrafring. Probably really good in Alice. I don't know about other level 3 decks. This card, honestly, I think people might be sleeping on. This card is basically Blinding Orb, but better. Blinding Orb, we used to run this with Watermill decks, especially when you would try to just combo kill them, so you'd put their hand down. But the problem was it cost 1 to materialize, but it didn't draw unless you were an assassin. This just does everything that water deck wanted without paying for it. But I don't think Alice is going to need that. Going through, we'll throw GCR in here, although where we're going, I don't think we're going to need it. Lost Providence, this is why we don't need GCR. This card is insane. If you are a level 3 deck, you should be playing this over every other Divine Relic, except maybe the Looking Glass. If you are Crux, going through here, Nullifying Lantern, maybe. We'll throw that in there just in case. Same with Mirror. These are just counter cards. Oneric, I don't know how to say that. Put a haunt counter on your your mastery. And then you have the backup treasure effect, so obviously this is really good. I did just skip over a card, Nefarious Timepiece. I still think this is a really solid card. It depends on what's in the meta. Like, honest to God, I think you could probably get away with playing this and then, like, naming Lost Providence. Like, I've always thought about just playing this against Arasana and naming Polaris just to laugh. There's another pocket moment to this one. This one's not what we need, even though it has Alice bonus on it. Orb of Sealing. Orb of Sealing is a good counter card. Helps counter Oblation Seal. I don't think any of these other cards matter. Proto-Key Crest. Don't think this matters. Quicksilver Grail. We'll throw that one in just in case. And now I'm going through these pretty quick because I actually remember a lot of what they do. So I know a lot of them are junk, like this one. Obviously, this is not really a good card. And I know a lot of cards that don't really matter for the game plan that we're doing. Let's go through Terrafring. We'll throw Terrafring in for fun. Just see if we need that or Ducal. We'll make that decision later. Don't need any of these. We'll throw in Viridian. Alright, so now we'll get to the water-specific stuff. Obviously, none of these matter for us. We are an anomaly. None of these also matter. None of these matter. These are all class bonus. We might be able to get away with a Teardrop Diadem. I don't know that the deck's going to run enough float, but we will throw that in there just to see. Everything else. Alright, so now we're into the Umbra. Obviously, Devouring Malice is insane. Ticket to the Afterlife, absolutely. Everything else, I think we're going to skip on. Alright, so now we're on to the Norm Element cards. A lot of these are not going to matter. Really, we're just going to be looking for Norm Element cards that are neutral lines, because the idea is we're going to be playing with we'll throw Blanche in here. The idea is we're going to be playing a heavy Umbra count because we are level 2. This means we just need to find 2 neutral lines, and we will have access to our advanced element cards. So no reason not to play with maybe Chibi. I've always liked this card. I really like this card. You can't attack this, and if you're not playing a deck with ally focus, it can stunt your opponent. But I don't think we need that for allies. But yeah, we're going to be playing a heavy advanced element deck because we don't need to be as consistent to get to 3. We just need to get to 2. So let's see here. Crystallized Destiny, definitely. That's a good standard, counter card or a defensive option. Disenchant, we'll throw that in there just in case we have to deal with Fantasia. Normally we would be throwing Dungeon Guides in Advanced Element decks, but we don't need to for this one, because again, we are level 2. Playing Dungeon Guide to go to level 2, while not terrible, is also not the best thing that we could be doing. It's not as beneficial to do that. Excalibur, I wish this card was good. I hope this is really good in Merlin. The card is so cool, but unfortunately it continues to not see play. Nothing else standing out here. We don't necessarily need Fast Cure. Floating Memory is not as critical because we're turning floating off except for Spectre cards with the Mastery. Until end of turn, if target unit, this is basically Veiling Breeze for Spectres, so we're going to add that. We'll add Fluffy, not sure if that's going to come up. Everything else looks pretty unappealing. We might want this one. Water's best way to destroy Realia is really just through Unbroken Mustang and Fracturize. So being able to play a quote-unquote spell, well, not quote-unquote, but just being able to play a spell rather than Unbroken Mustang for 2, because obviously you'll have ephemeral objects, like this might be worth it. Gentle Respite, normally I would say play this, but again, it's kind of awkward with the fact that it's got float and it's it's going to get turned off. Golden Gambit, God, this card, whew, I have a feeling this card is going to get broken in some Alice value engine that just draws a metric ton, because you can just keep creating pawns with her level 2. Let's see. Don't need Heavenlies. Can't even really use them. Nope, everything there looks garbage. Incap. We'll throw Incap. We might have enough influence to be able to do this. That actually might come up. We might want Library Witch. She is a neutral line. So maybe. Liminal Guides. We'll throw him in, but you might actually get to the point where Liminal Guide is only really going to have like 1 or 2. It's going to have at most 2 times the trigger when you level up. But I think it might actually only get 1 chance to not miss its opportunity. 1 shot to use its effect and ephemerate, or lose it and not be able to use it. I'll stop. Lingering Banshee. This card might be good. It is one of the only really generic ephemerate allies that we're going to see. Obviously, we have the Treacle, but, with Ticket, and if we have one other ephemeral object, this does become a cost 2, bring ephemeral ally back. So that could come up. Don't think anything else is going to matter here. Nothing else really looks too good. I will throw this in. This card could be really good for like an Alice lockdown. Basically force your opponent into 7 influence. And, once you have this out, and with another card that we'll get to, probably becomes really hard to play the game as the opponent. This is a Spectre, but this doesn't really do what we want. This is also a Spectre, but again, we kind of want Spectres that we can ephemerate, and there's not many of them, to be honest. We don't need any of these. Overlapping. We'll throw this in. This is basically Fight for the Crown, but better. It will help deal with Shenju. That might be an issue. We'll add the Mastery, because I don't think Shout will automatically place that in. I don't think we need a 5-cost Cry for Help. Queen's Gambit, all these. Regal, absolutely. Regal, no question. Always needs to be in consideration for decks. Resolute Stand, same thing. We'll kind of put that in there, see where that takes us. Everything else looks fine. Actually, I will go back 1 page, because this card, with Labyrinth in the game, I think this, like, answering stealth champions is probably going to be more critical this season than any other season. This is a really good statted body. We're a cheap, low to the ground advanced element deck, but I still don't think this will see play in this deck. No, nothing else there. Nothing else coming up here. We'll throw in a Staggering for Tristan Hate. Throw in a Sovereign Sanctuary just as a possibility. But with all the healing, I don't think we're going to need it. But we'll still click the button. We'll add one of it and figure it out later. Eternal Kingdom, no. Topsy Decree. I really like this card. We'll throw it in there because it is a better coronation ceremony. All right, so this is the other lockdown card I was talking about with that Fantasia that limits your influence at 7. Playing this card so early on because you're Alice and you get exalted elements quickly, playing this and then playing the Fantasia, I mean, like, you're limited to basically 7 cards, and then how do you even play with this out on the field? How do you even kill this? Like, you obviously don't play this against allies because they're going to have stuff on board that they can kill this with, but it's just mind-blowing that we even printed a card that just says your opponent cannot play the game unless they sacrifice a card from their hand. Like, they just straight up have to go -1, which means this card becomes neutral. Like, this card is mind-blowingly good. I cannot fathom that this card was printed. Turbocharge, I don't think we need this. Undying Dreams, we can throw this. This is our Spectre Float, so if we see this off the the Mastery, God, I'm never going to be able to pronounce that, then we can, we can get the float off of that one. This card, we could probably get away with this. This is a +1. It is a very expensive +1, but it is a +1 that we can do, especially if we're going first. Nothing else here stands out. Veiled Oracle is cute, but not necessary. All right, now we hit the water cards. So really, the water cards that we're going to want here are going to be our defensive tools and the specters. So we're just going to be filtering through here for, I don't know that we'll need a Cerulean Decree, but we'll throw it in there just in case. This is the Merlin, the Water Assassin Merlin cards. Obviously, we're not going to use that. Nope, didn't see anything in here. Not sure if this guy will be worth it. I mean, sure, you can ephemerate him, but, I think we'd rather be playing other cards. Same with this guy. 2 for 2/1. Not bad. It is Strapping Conscript, but maybe slightly worse. But getting a Haunt counter might be important. And then we'll get the Recover. This one I think is pretty good. This card's insane. Again, like, this is just Song of Frost on steroids. You don't even need to play it as a Song of Frost. You could just straight up say, you know what, pre-rec, I don't even feel like I want to negate anything. Maybe you're going to play a Song of Frost, so this would negate this one. I'm just going to play this and say, yeah, Terraforming. Or I'm going to play Ducal, and then pre-rec, I'm going to crack Ducal, and then I'm going to play this, and you have to pay 5 just to attack. Like, that's insane. This card's crazy. Extricating Touch. With the new rule, oh my god. I hate this card. I hate this card, and I hate Regal. With the new rule change, where both players draw their opening hands at the same time, if you're the turn 1 player, you can just turn 1 rip this, and then your opponent is incentivized to split their hand in memory, so like play something like a Creative Shock. So you have to choose between which 3 cards you want to look at, whether it's their memory or their hand. If they don't do that, you just get complete hand knowledge and you go 1 for 1. Like, this card is going to be so stupid in this new set. I just really do not like cards like these. I think they are a nightmare to balance. So we're going to toss that in because it's going to be broken, in my opinion. Fracturize, we're going to put 4 of because obviously it's Fracturize. Frostbind, don't think we'll need it because we have better negates, but we'll throw it in there. Same thing with Dismissal. It is a bit of a niche card. Frostborn Paladin. In this deck, maybe. I feel like every water deck you need to include Frostborn Paladin in. But maybe we don't have to play it in this one. This one, class bonuses are warriors, so it doesn't matter. Imperial Accord. No, this card had an issue with... It was played in really slow level 3 decks that took forever to get to level 3. So by the time you wanted to be negating... your opponent's advanced element cards, you yourself either weren't level 3 or it was too late to play this. Alice does not suffer from that, so she might be able to utilize that pretty well. John Yu, I'm going to throw this in here. I still think people sleep on this card. This card is a pretty good niche solver. You just play this and you name literally any key card in like a combo deck or a deck that focuses around killing you with 1 or 2 cards. You name that card and suddenly it costs 3 more at least, because it'll cost 2 plus X, and it does count itself. So that card is always been crazy. Labyrinth, I hate this card. Why did we print this? Why did we print these cards? Lure the Abyss, reveal the top 4. This is a -1 unless we hit float. Do not think we need to play this, because we're recycling our graveyard at the end of every turn. This being a -1, probably not worth it, but we will just investigate, see if there's better cards. This card's insane, I think, for this deck. It's exactly what we want. We want a neutral line. and one that is going to give us a haunt counter. We don't need Primordial because it's going to turn itself off because of the mastery. Nothing else in here is a standout. We'll go from bottom to top here. Sunken Battle Priest is okay, but the problem is you have to banish a card with float. If it didn't have that, we would probably be playing it, but the banish from float's just a bit too much. Snow Queen, maybe in some kind of control. Song of Frost, we will throw that one in there too. Spell Shroud, we'll throw that one in there. Can't go wrong with 8 Song of Frosts, clearly. Treacle, obviously that's going to be a solid pick. I'm not seeing anything else. All right, so we've made it to the Umbra. So this is where things get a little bit more interesting because we get to play with all the new cards that Alice has access to. A lot of healing. So we're going to put basically one of everything in that that is kind of just tailored towards her. We're going to throw Carter in. I know that he doesn't get cleave, but the recover one might actually matter. But we will find out. Bandersnatch does have cleave, so we might be able to get away without doing it. False Step, maybe. I mean, it is decent prevention, but we have enough recovery that it might not matter. All of these do not matter for Alice. This one, so this one's interesting. Non-champion, non-regalia specters from your banishment to your graveyard, then recover X, where X is the amount, and obviously it costs the 3 less for the curse. If it was fast speed, I'd probably play it, but slow speed, I'm not entirely sure, because there's better recovery. Jabberwocky will obviously slam that in there. Lost Promises, this is also a Song of Frost-like effect that deals 3 damage, so we'll toss that in. This is the really good one. This is the one that, even if they in-cap this, you can still play it from your discard pile, but this is the one that you're going to really want to play once you hit level 2, because you'll take 7 and then recover 4. So we definitely want that. Nocturne's Oblivion, never know when object removal will be important. Overflow Borrow. So this line of text right here, as long as you have no cards in your graveyard, this card costs 2 less, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. We're going to be having discard cards in our discard. We don't really care too much about the haunt counters there. Profane Bindings, maybe. This card, absolutely. This card is stupid. I don't understand why we keep giving CL like every single toolbox card in the game. It's like, imagine already the Regal looping that CL does, and then this card just reads times 4 more Regal. Like, it just blows my mind. I mean, you can literally get back your key. Like Oblation loves this. Oblation loves this card. Like, the card's insane. Remnant of Will, this card's really good. We would get extra haunt counters. We get some recovery. Shackled Theurgist, it is a Spectre. Could come up. Not sure. Slip Away, you get to imbue, and you get Stealth and Spell Shroud. This card, I think, is going to be really good because we're playing like 30 Umbra cards. Spectral Haunting. This is the Resurrection one, so we're going to get that in. Sporel, really good card. Umbra Sight, pretty good. Imbue 2. I've been iffy on this one because if you're playing against an opponent that doesn't really have allies in the first place, debuff counters will they won't be able to put debuff counters, so they'll be taking 2 damage a turn. The problem is this card doesn't have reservable, so it's not like a fractal, but it is an interesting tech. I don't think we'll be playing Umbra Tithe just because we don't want our opponent to draw cards. So now we've got our cards. We're going to go back to our deck here. Oops, view deck. I am going to shrink this. Actually, no, we'll keep it like this. All right, so material deck 20, main deck 63. That's because we added all one-ofs. So we're going to immediately throw everything that is considered a niche card like Disenchant and Blanche. We're going to throw those into the side. Same thing with Ghastly Corrosion. Incap. Again, bit of a niche card. We'll leave these in. This is a niche card for the Shenju. That's niche for Stealth. This is for Tristan. This is a Spell Shroud for us, but again, we might not need it. Anything else that is niche? Dismissal, this. These, nope, these are all okay. Nocturne's Oblivion is generally niche. Profane Bindings, we'll keep that in for now. Alright, so this is what we're working with. We gotta let's put one more here. We'll put niche cards in the sideboard here. Orb of Sealing. Let's get rid of all Divine Relics because clearly Lost Providence is better. Just default, always put GCR and Grail in your decks because they're really good. And then I guess we can figure out if we want Spirit, which Spirit we want later. So we are good. The game does count this master, the shout does count this mastery as one. So if you count it, you can see we have 12, 13. So that extra one is technically the Spirit, or it could be any other regalia, but we'll leave those in for now. So now we're going to look at the main board here and dig a little bit deeper. First off, we're going to find key cards that we want. So obviously we're going to go to our Umbra package. Now, our Umbra package, what are our key cards here? Bandersnatch and Jabberwocky. We want to see those cards kind of in the discard pile so we can bring them back. Jabberwocky especially. The issue is if we see them in our hand. So we don't want too many of them, but we also want them enough that they're going to be in the discard pile, which is why I think 2 of each might be okay. We could probably bump it up to 3. I wouldn't go any higher than 3. I think more than 3 is pushing it. Let's see, whatever other cards. Umbrasites, I think you can get away with playing 3 Umbrasite. Ideally, we want to be seeing this card. Ooh, excuse me. Ideally, we want to be seeing Maledictum Vitae. We want to see this and play this immediately upon hitting level 2 or Umbrasite. Both those are really good options as long as we have other recovers to go with it, which is why Vitae is a little bit better. So we're going to bump Vitae up to 4 just because this one does have the graveyard effect, so it's fine if it's in hand. It's fine if it's not. Let's see. Suffocating. Spirel. I think Spirel's kind of going to go crazy in this deck. We'll bump her up to 3. Being able to drop her as early as like turn 2 is really good. Spectral Haunting. So this is the card that's going to resurrect Jabberwocky and Bandersnatch. So we're going to bump that up to 4. That card we do want to see. So the Jabberwocky and the Calamity, the Bandersnatch we want in the discard pile, not in our hands. Spectral Haunting we do want in our hands, which is why we want extra copies of that. Reflected Blight. So this card will actually add back one of the cards that maybe got discarded, like if we discarded a Spectral Haunt or we discarded, a good healing or something like that. So we're probably going to maybe do this at 2 or 3. Part of the reason is we don't want to take a crap ton of damage from the deal 1 for each curse. Remnant Will. This does have a really good ephemerate effect, so I think we want to run 4 of these. Maybe 3. We'll bump that down to 3. Slip Away, we'll bump this to 2. It's not necessary all the time. Shackled Deer just... I mean, like, it's okay. It's a Spectre. We can't ephemerate it. It doesn't really do anything. I think we're going to put this in the sideboard unless we run into something that we need to fill space with. Abnegation. This card, read this card. Recover 8 plus X, where X is twice the amount of curse cards. And then if a card was negated, like your card was negated, it gets ephemerate too. This card just, what the hell? We're bumping this to 3. I don't think you need that many of it, but this card's recovery is insane. Like, I can't stress how crazy this is. You get 4 curses in your lineage, and then you're just recovering 16. This card just recovers 16 with 4 curses. That's just mind-blowing. Heart of the Saved. So this was the one that returns all the banished stuff back to our discard pile. We'll sideboard this. I don't think this is going to matter because banishment-wise, we're not really banishing a lot, if you notice, based off the ephemerate and float. There's really not many ephemerated cards here. Other than like Jabberwocky getting banished after it's been an ephemeral unit or Bandersnatch, there's not really much that we need. Treacle, we'll bump that to 3. Debating 4. It's solid, but it's like I don't know that you need to have this many because you don't want to clunk yourself with it. Let's see. Is there any other Umbra cards that we might want to tweak? Lost Promises. Maybe we'll put this at 2. Suffocating Miasma. We'll definitely put this as a sideboard card. It's cute. But I think with a lot of Fantasia hate, people are going to be running this set. I don't think it'll be crazy. Profane Bindings. you know, your champion getting -5 health is actually kind of massive with Alice, because then you go from 22 max health to 17, and your odds of getting one shot is just really high. But we'll leave one in just to, this would be the one where I leave the one in just to play test with it. False Step, I don't think we need this, and I don't think we need Carter. But we have enough defense tools, like in the case of Eminent Lethargy, or Lethargy, I don't know how to pronounce that. But we have enough defense tools in these to not necessarily need False Step. So I think we're done with the Umbra package. I think the Umbra package is pretty solid. We've got 9, 11, 15, 18, 21, 27, 30, 33. We got 33 Umbra, which is kind of where I guessed we would be at. So now we just got to, you know, split the difference between our Water and Norm. This card giving Spell Shroud, similar to Topsy Decree. Kind of a niche card. Same with John Yu. Kind of a niche card. Lure of the Abyss. So the reason I put this in here is because we could kind of assess where we're at here. So we'll go -1 to look at the top 4 cards and put all the Spectre cards in them. So how many Spectre cards do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. This is actually going to be errated. This is supposed to be a Spectre card. So we have 4. Of those 4, at least from the Umbra package, let's actually add these other ones up. 5, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10. Of those 10, how many of them can we even play from the discard pile? Let's count it. 1, 2, maybe 3. There's a big asterisk on this one. 4. Well, we'll say 3. 3, 4, and 5. So half of them we can actually play from the discard pile. Some of them, if you'll notice, like Evercurrent Raider, or where's the other one? Evercurrent Raider and Abnegation. We don't necessarily need to or want to play them, or can. So I don't think Lure of the Abyss is that good. We're going -1 just to hope we hit more than one Ephemerate. So we're going to sideboard that one. Snow White, we're going to sideboard that one. We'll come back to that one, I think. Misty Whispertail, easy 4 of. We need neutral lines. This card is probably one of the better neutral lines for this deck specifically. Song of Frost, we'll leave this in here as we debate with Eminent Lethargy which one's better. Imperial Accord, we'll bump that to 2. Actually, no, we'll sideboard this card because it depends on the advanced element decks you play against. So we'll sideboard that one. We could side those in against other level 3 strats. Chilling, Excavating Touch, easy 4 of. It's going to be insane this meta. Frostborn Paladin. Let's take a look at our float count. Last I checked, I think the only floats we had was Evercurrent and Undying Dreams. So I don't actually think we need Frostborns here. Frostbind. Like, maybe. Frozen Dismissal, also kind of a maybe. Usually these cards have turned into sideboard cards, historically. Evercurrent Raider, we'll just bump you up to 4, see how it goes. Eminent Lethargy, so this is where we got a debate between Song of Frost and this card. For now, let's go with like sideboard Song, and because this card is so good, we're going to bump this to 3, because this is not only a Song of Frost, this is a Tariff Ring on a card, which is insane. Drown in Sorrow, this is a new, not a neutral line, but it does do things that we want, and it does have the really good Ephemerate tag, so we'll bump that to 3. I don't think we need it at 4. Drifting Abyss Shell, if this had Ephemerate, this card would be insane. Unfortunately, it doesn't, so I don't think it's necessary, so we'll throw that to the side. Cerulean Decree, anytime you play with the Decree, double check, make sure your element count is high enough. Right now we're sitting at 16, 19, 25, so we're obviously going to have to cut water cards at some point. We'll leave it in here for now. Undying Dreams, obviously we're going to go to that as a 4 of. It's going to be really good with all our ephemeral units that we do have. Twisted Verdict, it is a +1. It is a risk. It is a hefty toll to pay, but it is a +1. So I think we'll bump this to 3 because we do kind of want to see this card. Regal, I think that we can get away with sideboarding this nowadays. Sovereign Sanctuary, again, I think we have enough healing that we're okay. Tri-Castles of Lucania. We'll try the 3, Mistbound Covenant and Tri-Castles. We're going to be playing Advanced Elements like crazy, so we don't care. Resolute Stand. I think Resolute Stand is probably the most universal between the defense tools that we have here. False Step might be a little bit better. So maybe we sideboard this card, and when we play this deck, if we realize we do need, like, wall or armor type cards, that will go with, we'll go maybe with a False Step. Because I don't think you need to protect your allies in this deck. Lingering Banshee, she's like the best ephemerate unit we have. Liminal Guide. You're really only going to get to trigger it possibly twice, and quite frankly, you're not going to be seeing this in the discard pile when you hit level 1. I really don't think you need to be playing Liminal Guides in this deck. Like, you're only going to get it when you level to 2, I think. And if you draw it after that, it's really not that good. Library Witch, let's see how many neutral lines we have. This is a neutral line. This is not neutral, but it does go 1 for 1. This card is okay. It's not neutral, but it's fine. Not neutral, but fine. +1, neutral. I think that we can get away with not needing Witch. Same goes for Fluffy. I think we can get away without needing Fluffy. I actually think that Alice needs her material deck more than most decks too. Let's see. So Fleeting Guard until end of turn if target unit would be dealt damage, prevent X damage. So this is based off ephemeral objects. So we're really only going to have 1 from the material deck. And then we're going to have any amount from here. So we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. We'll say 4 because we could bring these back. So at most, we're going to be preventing 4 +1, but, do we feel like that's good enough? I'm going to treat this the same way that I'm treating the other defensive tools, not as necessary. We have a bunch of healing, so we can stop, like, chip damage from boards, so I don't think this will matter. Crystallized Destiny, I'm treating this similar to Eminent Lethargy, where it kind of stops, like, big hits. We'll throw 2 in there. This one is a little bit different than like your Resolute Stand-like effects, where this will stop that big, massive, like, Rye Arcane Blast for 11. Alright, so we're down to 78 cards based on all the numbers that we have, so we have to trim out 18. So I think the Umbra package is still pretty solid, so I think we got to start cutting some slop from the Norm and the Water package. First thing I'm thinking of cutting here is the Evercurrent Raider. Even if I'm rating this, it's not the best. And Floating Memory, what are we using for our float here? We could be using it for Alice level 2, because odds are this isn't in the discard pile by the time we're going to 1. The only other cards that we would be using it for would be Teardrop Diadem, or Devouring Malice, and our level 2. So, like, maybe it's worth... I want to say that I don't think this card is going to be that worth, but that's just tough. We'll cut it, and this will probably be a card that we figure out as we go. Drown in Sorrow, we could probably cut this to 2. It's kind of just there as a way to get to level 2, so it's not like as necessary. I think we're going to have to cut the Mistbound Covenant. I think Tri-Castles is better. Definitely want to keep Tri-Castles because I think Tri-Castles is really good here. It doesn't stop our ephemerate abilities because it says activate. So we got to cut 10 more somehow. You know what? Let's cut Treacle down at 2. I think with how often we're going to cycle our discard pile, I think we can cut that to 2. Slip Away. I treat this similar to Crystallized Destiny. I think we'll sideboard this. It's another defense option, but we'll have to see how, like, what when we play games, what we really need. All right, so how many water cards? We're at 10, 8, 14, 17, 19. So we have 19 water cards. It's about a third of the deck. I don't think we can imbue with anything under half of the deck being a single element, so we'll have to cut the decree. With twisting or twisted verdict, can we get rid of other cards because we have twisted verdict? Maybe we only run 2. I think we only run 2. Especially if we're running a glimpse spirit, it won't be as bad. Lost promises. We already have Song of Frost like effect. We don't really want to banish 6. I mean, this is kind of like an awkward Song of Frost, so I think we'll cut that. So our Umbra package is limited down to only, I say only, but it's only like 28 cards, so it's still a solid chunk. So 63 cards. And you know what? I mean, you guys cut what you think from this list. I'm going to leave this at 63 because I think a lot of these cards are pretty decent and strong here. I could maybe see cutting Jabberwocky and Bandersnatch down by 1, but these are kind of the cards you want to see. Profane Bindings, we did leave this in here to test. And then obviously your neutral lines and your other cards, like you could see if Drown in Sorrow is worth playing. Probably isn't, I want to say, because we do have Misty Wisptail, we have Treacle, Extricating, Fracture Eyes, Twisted Verdict. Like, we have cards we can play to level up, so maybe this isn't as important. And then maybe you want to put the Evercurrent Raider back in. Who knows? But we're going to leave this at 63. We're also going to leave the material deck at 14 because, again, pick your spirit, whichever one you feel is better. And then for the sideboard, I'm going to leave the sideboard as is. Usually what I do is I leave 1 copy of every card that's in the sideboard that I was thinking about. I'm definitely going to cut the cards right now that I don't think are good at all. But, well, normally I would do that. But you know what? I'll leave them in for you guys because I think Editor David is going to leave this link in the video description so you guys can view it. So that is pretty much it. That is my thoughts on deck building. This is how I go about building my decks, and this is kind of how I trim them down and get to the final point where we're at. I think that this deck is definitely solid. It's just going to be a question of, are people teched for it? And, what is this deck's win con? I think that's the biggest issue with this deck is if your win con is literally just Jabberwocky Bandersnatch, good luck, Chief. I mean, there's decks that are going to beat you. Spirel is going to be really good here because you're high influence. You can spam Spirel, and then obviously Tricastles is crazy. So, she kind of seems like she lacks, I want to say, not direction, but like she lacks a clear end game. But her end game is there. It's just you got to sift through the weeds to find it. So she's definitely got enough of healing to keep her in the game. So we'll see where Alice pans out, and we'll see what you guys think. So thank you all for tagging along. I'll see you in the next one.